All right, I'm here with Mr. Josh Renkley. Josh, how much weight have you lost?
Lost over 40 pounds. I'm at like 40.6 as of this morning.
Dude, that is awesome. 40 pounds, 40.6 pounds in 12 weeks. And I love the message you sent the other day in the chat. That was just like, hey, if I can be 40 pounds down by my 40th birthday, that would be awesome. And today's your 40th birthday.
Yeah, 41st birthday. But yeah, man, I can't believe I hit the number. It's incredible number to hit. Like when we met initially, I would have never in my life thought that this was a number I could hit. I haven't been in the 220s in probably since college. It's just absolutely insane.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Um, yeah, man. So I guess kind of paint the picture for people for before we talked, what were you struggling with?
So a lot of my struggles dealt with just overeating, and I guess you can call it laziness. Like, I felt overwhelmed by a lot of things, especially after work. You come home, you work, then you got to deal with the kids, you got to cook dinner, you got to do all these things. And I would pretty much just veg at night, lay down, watch TV, play video games. I never really did any like strenuous exercise or anything like that. Didn't walk, and like the eating was a big thing. I really pound some ice cream at night or
Yeah.
bowls of cereal and just like constantly see myself going to the fridge and the cabinets to see what I could eat next, and really never paid attention to you know what I was actually eating or how much I was actually eating during any of that time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like the default actions were overeating kind of in almost like every way, shape, or form.
For sure.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I guess when you first started, what were the main things you were looking to change?
Well, I was just trying to, I think, find myself in a better spot. I think, I didn't have any broad goals initially.
Mhm.
Uh, I was just trying to feel better. And I think sometimes you just need to hear the things that you're doing that are putting you in a spot, and like, because they are default actions. You just do them and you don't even really pay attention to what you're doing when you're doing. You just do them. You get you so used to doing it. And so I think just the whole shift in mindset,
Mhm.
um, going and actually realizing what you're doing,
Yeah.
you know, big step, an important step. And it really didn't take me long to recognize it and address it,
Mhm.
which is, you know, I I don't even know how to explain it, but
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, because you joined and pretty much right away was like a flip
yeah.
of how you're
Yeah.
operating. What do you think we did that helped you make that flip take place?
Well, I think I've watched a lot of these videos. A lot of people talk about accountability,
Mhm.
and early on it was accountability. Um, you're constantly on the app. You're educating yourself about calorie intake and really focusing on what you eat.
Mhm.
Uh, and those things were really beneficial because, like I said, calorie counting is something I've never really done, and definitely never really a focus on protein intake either. So those are two major components. Just the idea that you're constantly paying attention to this stuff, tracking it on the app and seeing it on a daily basis. And I think once you actually like really take a dive and look into your health and pay attention to it, and you like think deeply about like how that impacts everything that you're doing, it if you really are focused, it gives you a mental reset. And I think that's probably what happened with me. I was just fed up.
Mhm. Yeah, it's almost like a lot of people just don't even consider it,
Yeah.
just like accept it, right?
Like it is what it is. I'm overweight. I like to eat it, and and then you think about it, and you're like, what are you doing to yourself?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Because most people they don't even consider it. They just accept it, right? So I'm curious, like with you, I remember when we first talked, you mentioned that you had tried to lose the weight consistently before, and it didn't really work long term. What did you try before?
So I did keto like pre-pandemic,
Mhm.
and I did lose a considerable amount of weight, probably like 30 pounds. I got into to like the low 230s, which I've fluctuated between like 265, like 255 and 275 really within, the last several years. So I had gotten down into the 230s, and then, the pandemic hit, and I just lost it. I literally threw those pounds on probably in less than a month and then some. I ballooned to like my heaviest weight ever, like 275 ish.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, while it was, I guess, while it did work initially, obviously long term it didn't work.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's interesting because it was like COVID, that big change in circumstance, obviously for everybody, and kind of fall off, balloon back up. We talked right before this about how this time around there were a bunch of changing circumstances and you stuck through. So, what do you feel like was different about this time that allowed you to actually stick through, like while life was happening?
I think it's so mental. Everything that has happened to me is a product of a mental shift, really. And that mental shift is a product of everything that you guys have instilled in the program and made me, I guess, address and change.
Mm,
Um, and it was a refocus. It's a different circumstance now. I have a child now.
mm,
Um, I'm much older. I had health issues that were pretty significant prior to this.
mm.
And so, like, when you really take a step back and think about everything in totality, it kind of forces you to think differently,
Mm.
especially when you have someone like you to say, "Hey, look, these are the things that are going on in your life that you need to address, and you're not addressing it."
Mm.
Accountability is important, and with the program you see, and I didn't get to be as involved as I really wanted to be because of all the things that were going on in my life. So I didn't like meet a ton of people in this. You know, I wasn't as involved in the live videos. I watched the majority of them when I'd walk at night, but so that accountability was basically between me and Chris, which he was amazing. Um, Talk about a positive guy, like just always there to support me, which was always nice to wake up to in the morning and have that like, let's go every morning because
Yeah.
he'd see me and be proud of what I was doing. So I mean, just that it's really motivating to have somebody in your corner constantly, there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. And that's something that's so important to us is just Chris's positivity as y'all's one-on-one coach,
Yeah.
because it seems like that kind of constant reminder, probably even on the days where we wake up and maybe something's going on, just kind of keeps you on track.
Yeah, it does for sure. And he really made a good effort pretty much on a daily basis to, I mean, if it was just a, hey, good job this morning, like even if it was minute like that, it really was like something cool to wake up to and you're like, all right, let's do this.
That's awesome. I love that. So something that I think we already chatted about maybe halfway through your program, but was like the outside impact on top of just the fitness, like in
Yeah.
every other area of life. So for you, what was the overall impact of the work that you were doing?
Well, see, for me, like the fitness is just a byproduct of the mental aspect of everything. The more important thing to me, especially when I interact with people that I interact with, obviously they see the physical traits that have changed.
Mhm.
But for them to recognize the mental aspect of like my mental shift, how I address things, how I am with people, um, and they see how that correlates into the respect that I have for my body now.
Mm.
Not just the respect that I have for my body, it's the respect that I have for everything in general. But obviously, the body is an important aspect of it and is, ultimately what everybody's looking at because that's the physical trait that everybody sees. But I just have an entirely different approach on life. And I don't know. It's so hard to explain um how that shift has occurred, but obviously it's a byproduct of everything that I've learned.
That's awesome. Yeah, just listening to the way you speak is different than when
Yeah.
we first spoke. Like just the positivity, the energy, the way that like you can go through anything and find the good and persevere. Just sitting here like listening to you speak, I'm like, this is awesome. This is the new Josh Runkley.
Yeah, and the other the other thing is like you guys gave me an opportunity to see the person that I really could be because I don't want to say that I couldn't see it. It's just maybe that I just didn't try to see it. And you guys helped me open up my eyes to possibilities that I would have never anticipated. You know, like I said, I'm 225 right now or 224. I would have never thought I would have been 224. And when I was talking to Chris just a couple weeks ago and I hit the 230s, I'm like, man, how you guys talk about resetting goals.
Mhm.
215 is something that I've never thought about.
Mhm.
205 something that I'm ready to hit.
Heck,
And like, I mean, I these numbers, I'm not afraid or like concerned or like not being able to visualize the possibilities anymore.
mm,
So yeah, it's just an entirely, like I said, it's just an entirely different thought process. Like it's it's mentally, I guess, and a mental opening. I I don't know exactly how to explain it, but yeah,
well, yeah, that what you said there, interestingly enough, which was like you're not worried about not being able to visualize 205.
yeah,
Like the idea of getting there is no longer something you can't visualize.
right,
When, before you never even thought you'd get into the 220s. Like
never.
that in and of itself, that's like freedom, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just and the way the body, my body in particular, is I've never been this toned before. Um, and not it's not like I'm super toned right now. I have a lot of weight to lose. You know, I started off at really heavy weight, obviously. But I mean, I've never had the kind of muscular tone that I have now. It's really insane, like the difference. You know, I'm constantly like kind of just flexing to my wife, and
Yes. I
that's
love it.
kind of joking, but and she's super proud of this thing, you know. And yeah, it's like I said, I just the the vision is and the possibilities that I see are far they exceed anything that I would have been able to see before.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm curious, like with the drastic changes, you said you've never been this tone before. So I
Yep.
imagine your wife has never seen you like this before. What are some of the things that she's noticed?
So she's seen me this thin before. I was pretty young. We've been together for over 20 years.
Gotcha.
She has seen me this thin before, but definitely not this this muscular.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, so the upper body is really there's a big difference in the upper body. Obviously, like the torso, I have a lot of core strength now. I never focused on core strength before. Planks were like my enemy. Um, you know, I could barely do a plank for like 20 minutes before. It's just totally different now. But eventually, that belly fat will go too. I'm getting to the point where that'll be a thing of the past, and yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, so at the point now where, we're looking at 215, looking at 205, what is it about this that you feel like is going to help you stick through this for the rest of your life?
But yeah, I think it's just an instilled change in me.
Mm,
It's like it's literally a part of my life every day. Like this is my life. This is my routine. Like this is my default action. I I mean this is my focus now. My focus is on my health and my long-term future and things like that rather than, you know, all the daily stuff that gets in your head, you know. I'm able to just think differently and have a more clear focus on me. I didn't put a lot of effort into me prior to any of this.
mm,
Um, that's changed, obviously.
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, Josh, if somebody is kind of in similar shoes to where you were and they resonate with this, what would you say to them as to why they should make a change in their life right now?
Speaking for me, I was in a rough spot. I was so thankful. It's so weird how things worked out with you reaching out to me and motivating me and really talking me into doing this, because I was skeptical. I was kind of questioning if I was making the right decision. Um, but to focus on your health and to get yourself in a position where like you're not just healthy for a short term, you're healthy for the duration of your life, hopefully. That should be everyone's focus. I feel like it's important to take care of yourself. I think a lot of people just don't do that. And I was in that spot too. And this program has helped me take care of myself. And not only myself, I'm helping other people. I have a friend that I'm helping and motivating. I see a lot of people, you become a leader just
Mm.
by your presentation. All you have to do is show up and people see the difference and they want to follow you. And I recognize that. And so it makes a difference not only for you, but for everybody that's around you. And maybe, even if you just help one other person in your life, um, that's what I do as a probation officer. My objective is to try to make an impact and change on somebody's life. And now I'm doing that in my personal life by being, an influence on my friends to hopefully, get them to improve also. So it's not all about me. That's what I would say. And I think people need to recognize that you can make a difference for you and for other people.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm so glad that you recognize that because sometimes prioritizing you is like the most selfless thing that you can do because of how you impact others. And so I'm so glad that you're seeing that, man, and you're experiencing that, man. But Josh, dude, thank you so much for obviously doing this, but also for your hard work throughout the process, man. We know you invested your time, you invested your resources, you invested your effort, and you crushed it, man. And now there's a bunch of guys that get to look at you and get inspired by your success. So thank you so much, man.
I hope I've inspired some people. I know I'm very, very happy with where I'm at, and I'm looking forward to where I can go from here.
Okay. Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
Awesome.